Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our session today for Pivot in Progress. I have an interesting topic, something that we commonly cover, but not in the way that we are going to be doing it today, which is how do we land our target job in this environment of high layoffs. Now, layoffs have been happening for some time. We have been covering them and talking about the difficulties that job seekers are facing in this environment. But recently, this trend has even further accelerated in India and across the globe. And we are seeing the repercussions being faced by job seekers are getting harder and harder to navigate. So we have an excellent speaker with us. We have Mayank Sharma, who's the founder of HRmoney and has previously worked in various HR roles across some large brands. So I'll be bringing Mayank onto the stage in just a second. Hi,
Hey
Mayank.
Arjun, good evening.
Good evening. Good
Thank
to
you
have
for
you
having
again.
me. Okay,
All
same here.
right. So, Mayank, yeah, I think what we can do is maybe just a quick round of intros and then we can dive right into the topic. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
All
sure,
right.
sure.
So maybe I can just quickly go first. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Arjun and I'm the founder of Pivot. We at Pivot basically help people navigate different types of job searches and career transitions. So if you are going from one company to another in a linear move, that's definitely one of the areas we would be helping you in. Apart from that, we would also, in case you're looking for a different type of profile from a domain or industry perspective or level in the organization, that's another area that we work a lot in. And we have helped over 9,000 professionals so far in the last 4 years or so. We'll talk more about how we do that, what exactly Pivot does during the course of this conversation. But I want to turn it over to Mayank. Mayank, welcome again. And if you could just share briefly about your journey. And I know it's been an interesting ride for you, so I would love to get a behind the scenes.
Sure, great. So, hello everyone. So I have a very non-linear kind of a career. So I'm a software engineer turned HR professional. I worked only for a year as a software engineer in Pune and then got into XLR Jamshedpur. So a batch of 17 Excel, and from Excel I was placed in Reliance and I worked there in a manufacturing unit for roughly 1.5 years, handling end-to-end HR. The role was HR business partner. Post that I went to Asian Paints, worked there for a year as an HR, security, and CSR manager. Afterwards, the non-linearity start. I quit my job without anything in hand. The aim was just to relax a bit, just to see if I can make myself happy. And that's when my first career break happened. Traveled a lot, worked on my health, read a lot, wrote a bit. Decided to start a venture, but couldn't execute it because of lockdown. So pivoted. Before pivot, I pivoted. I pivoted to an edtech because that's the only thing we felt we can execute from lockdown sitting at our home. So it was a career guidance venture. We were targeting 9th to 12th class students. And our philosophy was that students should take informed career choices because it is something they commit for the next 30, 40 years of their life. It shouldn't be basis random gyan. We were operationally profitable, but couldn't scale it. So I rejoined corporate back in 22, this time with Tata 1MG, starting with HR strategy. Then in my last role there, I was heading talent performance and rewards along with double heading the CHRO office. Last year I quit again, this time for good, I hope. And the aim was to try my hands at multiple things, generate multiple source of revenue. So I started Harmony Partners, which is my HR consulting firm. I also do career guidance and life coaching. I also do soft skill training for college students. And last month I had this lifelong dream of becoming a writer, which got over last month because I was able to publish my book, The Corporate Circus, which is again a fictionalized version of what I see the modern corporate world. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much. And congratulations again on becoming an author. I have to get my hands on the book. I know you shared it. I believe it's doing really well. So congratulations on that, man.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll talk more, a little bit about that as well. I would love to know, how you came up with the idea of the book and what's been covered. But just before we dive into that, I think the 10,000 pound gorilla, elephant, whatever you want to call it in the room, is the amount
Mhm.
of layoffs that have been happening over the last couple of years now, and it's a trend that's not stopping and showing any signs
Yes,
of stopping in the near future. So, I think
definitely.
what I want to just start with, Mayank, you've been in HR, you've been, both on the employee side and the employer side, right, over the last few years. So, based on your experience, can you share just general trends, especially today? Because this layoff trend started in 2022, like mid to late 22,
Yes,
and it's
yes,
almost
yes.
been 3 years. What has changed in terms of how layoffs are happening, who's being laid off, why they are being laid off? Just at a broad perspective, if you can share your views.
Definitely. So 22 was also the time when I shut down my venture, and luckily I was able to get into corporate very easily because the time before that, in HR terms, we say it talent wars. What was happening was a lot of companies felt that there was a pent-up demand that will happen post once the lockdown is over, the COVID era is over. At the same time, some companies who were into hiring freeze, they were also hiring. Many startups were getting huge funding. A lot of things happened parallelly. So once I joined, and I think I remember 3 4 months, I was just 3 4 months into my new job, and this term started coming that the West market is going to get into a recession, and that's why we should hiring freeze. We should do a hiring freeze, and this trend first started with startups. Parallelly, the what we call in startup world the funding winter, that it become very tough to raise fund. Before that, even on concepts, the startups were getting fund. Seed funds were very easy to get. Startups were even in their Series C, Series D, when they were not profitable, they were getting huge funds. And because of this excess fund in the market, there were again a lot of job. Now, 22 towards the end, the rumors started floating that the West world is going to get into a recession. The startup funding winter also started. The combined effect happened that many companies went on a hiring freeze. So again, the pool of jobs available in the market reduced a lot. Then some companies, especially the startups, they were forced by their investors that you should show profitability. At the
Hmm.
same time, those companies who were already profitable, they felt that we have overhired. The demands are not going up by that side. So you see
Hmm.
two effects happened in combination. The number of jobs in the market reduced and excess layoffs started happening. Now, who is at a threat? I can answer it in two ways. Purely, if I was employed somewhere, I would have said that, roles that are redundant, especially if you are into the middle management where your roles are not very defined, where neither you are doing work on ground nor you are onto sitting with CEO on the table and all that. And obviously, most companies, if you see, including the top names, they have said that, we want to reduce the middle management layer. We wanted to reduce micromanagement in the system. We want more doers, less thinkers, whatever. But since I'm not employed anywhere, I will also add a pinch to it that sometimes if you are on the negative end of the political spectrum, when you are vulnerable, when the
Hmm.
system is not with you, then also you become a bit vulnerable. So one is role specific, which is the middle and mid senior management. One is person specific. If you are too much of a nuisance, then also you
Hmm.
become a bit
So
threat
if you're
to
not in the
people.
good
And
books with the
exactly,
leaders, yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's interesting to kind of look at it that way for sure. But one of the things which I know you have just mentioned as well is that these large tech companies and some very big profitable companies outside of tech as well have continued to do significant amount of layoffs, especially globally, but also in India. I think India has relatively been more safe, I would say, compared to US and Europe a little bit because of our costs, right? The cost of talent is a little lower comparatively.
True, true, true.
My biggest surprise and kind of realization is that it doesn't matter whether you're sitting on billions of cash as a company. You can still go ahead and slash a significant percentage of your workforce, just because now we have something known as AI, right? So obviously
Yes,
that is another factor I believe that a lot of companies are taking into account to see how we can enhance productivity. And I mean, some folks are saying that it's just an excuse. They're not actually completely replacing these laid off employees with AI. Like they're still hiring back other people and so forth. Others are saying no, they have been able to leverage AI. What's your take on that as a factor of layoffs?
Yeah. So I wanted to add that AI thing also. So I'll answer it more in an India centric way, and I will tell you. So just before lockdown, I had quit my job, and before that, when I was an HR, it was a big taboo to fire anyone. So culturally, we were very employee centric. Most companies, if you see before 2020. So as an HR also, we were told that in very specific cases only we will take the extreme step of firing an employee. I know people who were sitting getting worst rank over years, like 4 years, 5 years, they are getting low rank, yet they were in the system because the system doesn't believe that we should fire people. If they go by their own, it's okay.
Hmm.
Something fundamentally changed after COVID, especially in India, that this hiring thing, the firing thing become no longer a taboo. Okay, so that is one thing that happened. Parallelly, when AI came, so this is something that again you can call me my personal opinion, but I what I feel is many of the function heads or leaders, they work in a FOMO. So when they are given a target, you know how a company works. Every function will have a head who handles their own P&L, and when
Hmm.
they are into pressure of showing something, uh, the best possible and the quickest way is to reduce the manpower cost. Okay. So
Yeah.
obviously you can take a target. I am going to reduce 10%, 15% of my workforce. I can redistribute the work. At least for this financial year, I can show green in my P&L. So that
Yeah.
myopic view also translated these. None of those leaders were questioned why you are firing.
Yeah.
AI that I feel, at least what I have seen, at least till I was employed, I didn't see any visible, uh, you know, complete swap by AI that a person was doing a work, AI was able to do that work in a better way. So I
Yeah.
personally feel, and again, it is my personal opinion, that this is more like a bubble. This is more like when every company is doing, we should also do that because leaders have this tendency to follow the herd. That if everyone is saying I'm using AI, I will also say I'm using AI. If everyone is saying I'm using AI to lay off people, or because of AI I'm laying off people, we will also do the same thing because we want to show that we are not behind. We are with everyone.
Mhm.
And also a lot of studies. I don't know. I think few days back I read a report that there was a company who replaced an entire department with AI, and then after a year they have to rejoin. They have to
Rehire.
make those people rejoin, rehire. Yeah. So that is
Yeah.
also something I have read. So I personally don't feel AI is definitely helpful. Just few days back I had taken a chat GPT plus version, and I got frustrated by it. I have to hire an intern eventually. So I feel it's a big FOMO. I don't see any objective evidence that it is possible to replace your entire team. And this is happening more because everyone else is doing, no one wants to be left behind. I don't see objectivity in it.
Got it. Okay, I mean, I think that is a fair point, and I think the jury is still out in terms of how much AI can actually do. I believe if we were to just go by the words of most tech titans, especially in US, they are saying that we'll have AGI or super intelligence within the next 3 to 5 years.
By 2028.
Yeah,
Yes,
by
I know.
2028, right? Which means, I mean, intelligence that will be more superior to human intelligence. But I think a
True.
lot of that is just speculation. So, I don't want to get into too much of that. Um, what I do want to understand is another part. We'll get to more details about AI and how that's impacting what you can do to navigate that shift. But before we do that, the slightly less discussed aspect of layoffs is that there is a bit of bigger concentration when companies decide who to lay off. Globally, at least, it's been mid management more so than junior level employees. And that is something which is also different because a lot of times earlier you used to think like, okay, if you have experience, even if you're being laid off, you will get a new role pretty soon because you have prior experience. Companies are going to respect that, value that, and hire you for your expertise, right? That's not really happening anymore. We work with a lot of people who have actually been laid off and then spent significant time in the job market looking for jobs, realize that it's not as easy as it used to be 5 years ago 10 years ago,
True, true.
and then they come to us, right? So I would say almost in the last 6 months, Mayank, about 20% of people, which is not a lot because we work with thousands, but still 20% of thousands is decent number. They have come to us with this kind of a scenario. So why is this happening? Why is the mid management being targeted more than, let's say, junior level employees or very senior? So you had touched upon it briefly, but I would love to go deeper.
Sure. So I have been unfortunately a part of, framing a layoff process. So I can give you some insights. Why this happened, as I said, I have given the core philosophy. I personally feel it is because of the myopic view that I want to show an impactful P&L. Now, how I'm going to do that? So if you see the structure of any typical Indian company, we are known to have huge hierarchies. Typically, even a very small company will have 13, 14 hierarchies. We have multiple designations. Now,
Hmm.
if you see your junior roles, they are the one typically in most companies, they are the one who comes in the salary range of 3 to 10 lakhs. Okay. And they are the people who are having 4 to 6 years of work ex, and they are the one who get groomed in the system. At the same time, they are the one who are actually doing work on ground. They are the one who are doing the transactions and all that. The
Hmm.
layer above, which like just 10 years back used to be the cushion, the mid management who was slightly in between the top layer and the bottom layer. They were the
Hmm.
one who were doing the coordination. They were the one who were translating the higher level goals into executables, and that model worked very well for last few years. Suddenly companies realized that why do we need them? What are they doing?
Hmm.
Can't the top layer? So there are leaders who are actually doing the PLN, and there are just a level we call it N-1, N-2. So can't the N-1 and N-2 manage the ground level resources directly? Why do we need N-3? Why do we need N-4? What are the value
Yeah.
they are adding? And the problem with middle management is their goals are never very properly defined. They are just like in between somewhere. They are there to do firefighting. They are there to do abstract works, but they are not responsible for P&L. They are not responsible for profitability direct. They are just managing the circus somehow.
Hmm.
So uh, it's very tough for them to justify their role, because at the end of the day, whatever they are doing with some work stress, many top leaders can also do. The mode of operation will change. Obviously, there will be a chaos in the system. But if you want to show short term gains, you can anyway let these people go. Again, as I said, the
Yeah.
process is never objective. The process is meant to show quick results, and you know how these layoffs happen. uh, these people are called, their IDs are disabled, their email IDs are done for, their ID
Overnight,
cards
they're
are
shut
taken.
out of the systems. Yeah.
Over not you, if for a typical function, and these meet managers are also the one who get CTCs around 20 to 50 or 60 lakh in a typical Indian company. Anyone who's having a work ex of 10 to 20 years, they are getting a salary of 20 to 60 lakh. So if you have
Hmm.
removed 3 or 4 guys, suppose for a particular function the payroll was 20 crore and they have removed
Hmm.
4 or 5 mid-level leader, you have reduced your manpower cost by 10%, and that's a
Hmm.
huge when we talk about beginning. So again, this layer becomes very vulnerable. I have to remove at least 20-30 junior resources to get that kind of impact, and my function will also get destabilized. When I'm
Hmm.
removing the middle layer, I am showing 10% upfront P&L impact, and nothing is getting disrupted. Whatever is getting disrupted, it won't translate too early. There may be confusion, there will be a change in the command of order, and there will be chaos in the system, but again, it doesn't translate into P&L, so it's a safe bet. So that's
Hmm.
the reason I feel mid management is always unfairly targeted.
Hmm. Got it. I mean, but one just quick follow up here. See, this notion of N-1, N-2 being able to manage the ground level resources. I mean, this could have come up at any point in time, right? Like, I mean, because mid management has been there for a long, long time. It's not a recent
Yes,
thing. What,
yes.
according to you, has made this into such a big trend that so many companies are doing it? See, it started with, I think, Elon Musk doing it at Twitter when he first joined.
At
He
Twitter,
he
yes, yes,
acquired Twitter, and he basically invented the playbook in US that became the
yes.
trend in US, and then it percolated to other countries globally as well. But why do you think so many companies, I mean, apart from cost cutting measure and the things that you described, why is it now, like why at this point in time as opposed to before?
Yeah, so there are few reasons. First thing is if you see any trend from a geopolitical perspective or from a macroeconomic perspective, for a long time, at least we can say there were few major events like the dot-com bubble burst or the 2008 financial crisis. But overall, last 30 years have been majorly good in terms of economy, in terms of companies generating revenues and all that. So that was a trend that happened, and companies and I used to do budgeting, so I know companies were not that bothered about all this, and also
Mm.
companies were not managed from a functional perspective. Now if you see many of the companies who have laid off, you see their valuation, they are into trillions, their profit is into
Mhm.
billions, yet they say we are shutting a department because that department is not profitable, so they are laying off
Right.
an entire department. Or the CEOs are giving target to every department that your department has to show some sort of improvement every year. So that pressure at a department level was not there. AI obviously factor, as I said, it's a FOMO that we want to make. If you see every CEO whoever has come for this, they have given a same script. AI is here. We want our company to be more efficient because we feel the middle management is not efficient, so we are firing them because we feel they are not capable to skill themselves in AI. That's the common script everyone is following. Who has hired the middle management? CEOs themselves. Who approved the manpower? So as an HR I can tell you the manning is approved by CEO every year. At every January, February, we do this entire exercise. On March, the CEO signs off. So obviously they knew this manpower is there. They knew whether it is efficient or not. So that is what I feel, that in the last 5 years, that tendency to show quick result has generated a lot of chaos in the system. And the weaker part is this middle management layer who can't defend themselves. If you are a middle management, you can't say that I'm working by hand. You're doing reviewing, you're doing scheduling, you're doing communication, you're doing stakeholder management. But again, you are not doing something that will completely disrupt the work. So your dependency on the system is very less. So
Mm.
as corporates are getting more into a race of becoming more linear, showing better results for whatever reason, startups are doing it to show value to their fund, their VCs, etc. The bigger companies are doing that because they feel they want to get ahead into the race. So again,
Mhm.
I will reiterate. I feel it's a very myopic way of doing things, but
Mm.
sometimes when a trend starts, everyone follow, and that's why I say every CEO is following the same script. No matter which company has done the layoff, you will see the common script. And the same CEO 3 years back would have taken a town hall, would have said that this is my family, all of you are responsible for the work, all of you are responsible for our growth. So the same CEO would have done that. 3 years later, they feel the middle layer is redundant.
Mm. Got it. Yeah, no, I think very valid points. I think hopefully it will give some insight to people who are very perplexed. There are people who come to us saying, I've served about like 8 plus years, 10 plus years. I've always gotten, above satisfactory, like good or very good or excellent
True,
kind of
true,
ratings.
true.
Um, so I'm unsure why this happened to me. And then when we realize that it's happening to so many people and it's not just one of circumstances, that's where we are seeing that it's become this huge trend, and people need to understand it can really happen to anyone without any
Yeah,
link
yeah.
to performance as well.
So
So Mayank, actually that's another part that I wanted to cover, right, in terms of who's getting laid off. So we've talked about the level in the organization, but we have not really covered one aspect, which is how you have been performing, how you're perceived internally at the company until you're decided as somebody who's going to be laid off. Um, have you seen that linkage between performance and layoff, or let's say the contributions that the person has made to the company before they are let go?
So I'll tell you honestly, majority of company will try to give some objective analysis, and that happens when they say that we are doing a layoff purely from performance perspective, and whoever has got the least rating for, let's just say, 2 consecutive years, we are laying off only them. And that's again a standard script. But if you see, if you're active on Reddit or even you go through some of the LinkedIn posts, there are people who are fired when they were on maternity break, when they were on paternity break, when there are people who are fired who have been on top rated throughout. In my personal capacity, I know people who have set up entire functions in the department. They are fired saying that you're too costly for us to manage your work now. Since you have done the setup, your work will can be done by someone much junior. So again, that is
Mhm.
where that political thing comes, that that's the reason, especially people who are at mid senior level, if they are not on the good books, they are always vulnerable. One more layer to it is, I have seen people getting laid off as soon as they are getting, as soon as they were hired. So
Hmm.
someone was sold a lot of dreams that, this role will have this. 2 months later, they are fired saying that this role is no longer required. And that is also happening a lot. So that
Hmm.
performance thing is, I won't deny that is not there and maybe applicable 60-70% of the cases, because objectively it is very easy to justify. Performance ratings are documented. So the legal threat is very less when we are doing a layoff saying that your ratings are not enough. But in 20-30% cases, I would say still it is political or purely driven by a very short term focus, that this person is getting a lot of salary, is employed at 60 lakh, 70 lakh, why not I release him? So I have
Right.
seen those cases happening. And again, as I said, people who were just hired, they didn't even complete their probation, they were let go saying that your role is not required. So this is also happening.
Yeah, I think our experience has been generally the same. You're absolutely right. We have seen a lot of people earlier when the trend had started. It was more like, okay, either the company is struggling and they are slashing costs because of
True.
lack of funding, like you said, or just business downturns and those kind of things. So they were more common reasons that we are used to seeing for layoffs, right? It was either performance driven or it was business downturn, those kind of things. Now it's either arbitrary, people don't know, they are completely clueless as to why they
Yes,
were targeted, or entire divisions are being shut down, entire regions are being shut down, AI is being given as the reason. And sometimes you could be a top performer, you could have spent 10 years plus at the company. We all know a
definitely.
large IT services company that's going through a huge amount of layoffs currently, and the amount of
Yes,
employee videos that are going viral right now on that particular company is quite unprecedented actually for a country like India. So, I mean, a lot of these things are happening for the first time, and I hope what Mayank you have shared and we have shared will bring some demystification of why this is happening, even though it's hard to fathom for the person who it's happening to. Now, let's switch gears a little bit, right? Let's
hmm,
talk about the topics from the perspective of the person it's happening to, right? We have been thinking about why companies are making this decision from the company perspective. Now let's switch gears a little bit. And before we do that, I just want to mention to the audience who has joined us today that we will be taking up your questions towards the end for Mayank and myself. So please feel free to share any or every question you have with regard to your layoffs or your job search, your career transition. Even if you have not been laid off but your company is undergoing layoffs and others have been laid off, then also you might want to ask questions to help yourself feel more safe and secure. Yeah, so with that said, we can move on to the next thing, which Mayank, so a lot of times when people are laid off, the first thing they do is just mass applying to job applications. Some people have given it a term of rage applying also, and because today with LinkedIn and other portals allowing you to just applying,
yes,
in like high hordes of applications, that has not necessarily worked well for many candidates in our view. Like when people come to us, sometimes again, those 20-25% of people we are talking about, they have applied to 100 plus, 200 plus applications within a short period, not heard back. Now, the one of the biggest, I think, pain points that this crowd has is not being sure why they are not hearing back. Right? They say, "I worked on my resume. I, clicked on the right buttons on LinkedIn to reach out to the hiring manager. I, even sometimes they say I customize my resume and all these things, right? still no call back, sometimes not even an acknowledgement of the application, right? Fairly common for many people who are undergoing layoffs or don't have a lot of experience in their career. Why is that happening? Why are these job applicants who used to earlier hear back more frequently are not hearing back as frequently today?
Sure. So I'll answer it. Before that, I'll just add one point. Uh, Someone who is laid off, I feel the biggest mistake they take is we are conditioned to find faults in ourselves. So as soon as someone is let go, they feel it is their fault. It is something they did, something they could have done better. It would have changed the results. So first thing, if anyone is hearing and who has been let go, unfortunately, we are conditioned to not externalize failures, but trust me, in most cases of layoffs, you have to externalize. You did nothing wrong. You were just part of a system which, for valid or invalid reasons, has let you go, and you have to accept that. And you have to also accept that it was not your fault. It was because of the circumstances. Because I feel a lot of people lose their self-esteem very rapidly, and then it hits their self-confidence also, and then they're not able to represent themselves in the best possible way for the next opportunities. And now when it comes to why people are not hearing back, so I just told you what happened in the last 3 years. Many companies went on hiring freeze, so there is an excess talent available in the market. Also, campus placements, if you see for the last 3 years, they have been abysmally low. So
Yeah.
that excess pool, so there are people who want to switch, but they are not able to because companies are not hiring. There are people who are already switching because they have been laid off, and then campus folks are also trying at the same time. uh, the bottleneck is the jobs are very less. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I remember once in one of the organization I worked with, we floated a vacancy, and within 1 hour, we just floated a Google. We received more than 600 resumes. So within 1 hour. So
Yep.
that's the kind of competition that is in the market because everyone is applying simultaneously, and somehow you have to stood out, but that is
Mhm.
not possible always, so somewhere you have to accept that we are in a very bad job market, and there's nothing good that will come by becoming frustrated. Why people are not hearing back from HR system? There are two reasons. First, believe it or not, one of the most impacted HR team is the recruitment team. So those companies
Mm.
who are hiring 20 recruiters and every recruiter was handling like uh, 5 or 6 position, now they have been reduced to 5. Everyone is handling 20, 30, and the automated systems are not advanced enough to customize the communication. That is one problem I have always seen. So
Mhm.
people are just ghosted right away because the system is overloaded. A single vacancy in a reputed company will get like 1500, 2000 applications.
Right.
Sometimes they send a rejection mail, sometimes they just forget, because again, no one is bothered about that. You have to just pick one out of that 2000. So that is a problem of supply. No one can do anything. The only thing that is in our hand is how can we increase our probability of being noticed, because otherwise we would just get lost in the pool of 2000 CVs that have come for that single vacancy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think very well said that the system is overloaded. I think a lot of people, like you said, if they don't hear back, they immediately assume that I wasn't considered a good fit for this role or something wrong with my profile. But that may not be case. It's possible that your profile wasn't even looked at because
Definitely.
there's such a low bandwidth that recruiters have today, and the ATS systems are also no, they are. I mean, one of the things that I want to understand better from you, if you have more in-depth insights, Mayank, is the ATS systems. And for people who don't know, these are application tracking software or systems, which basically are kind of like bots that help recruiters um, shortlist the number of candidates from the initial pool that has applied to a role. Usually, you know what, a lot of people think that it is just a bot with a mind of its own. It has no link to how humans would perceive an application. That's how when people come to us and say, "Hey, I want my resume to be ATS aligned or ATS optimized," they think like it's something that works on its own without any link. But we have to often tell people that different ATS work different way depending on what conditions humans, the recruiters or the hiring managers, have given to that ATS, right? So
Definitely.
ultimately, it is working in sync with what the company's criteria is for hiring. But still, they can make mistakes if there are too many profiles that are looking similar in nature. They might accept a few, reject a couple of others on a randomized basis also. What has
True.
been your experience specifically with ATS? How can people identify if their resume is being rejected by ATS, and do something about that?
So one common mistake I feel everyone does is the two things. The resume will anyway pass through a human somewhere down the line, and in a country like India, where we are demand, I would say the supply is very less of jobs, it's demand heavy. We are looking
Mhm.
reasons to reject most people. So you'll see people sending 8 pages of resume, complete
Mm,
text written, not properly formatted, typos, etc. It becomes very good reasons to reject someone, even if the substance is there. So first thing would be to just create a simple 1 or 2 pager resume, properly shaped. Everything is highlighted well. When it comes to ATS and parsers, I when I was into corporate, AI was not that big a thing. We were relying more on the parsers, and parsers used to make a lot of mistakes. One fundamental will remain the same, and that is also a mistake people do. They make a resume and then they apply everywhere with the same resume. But what you need to do is there will always be a JD. The parser will, or the AI nowadays will also be using the same JD. So what it will tell you eventually, there will be some algorithm. The algorithm will be doing some sort of keyword matching. Most cases, the keyword matching is just whether the words written in the JD are in your resume or not. That's it. So these are the resumes that gets a good score when they are parsed through the ATS system. But if I am looking for someone with let us say C++ skills, or if I'm looking someone with Java skill, or I'm looking someone with backend, or in sales and marketing, I'm looking for a particular experience. Whether it is, if the JD is mentioning that, and again, you can't lie. If it is there, just write it. Customize your resume according to the company you're applying for, and your probability of getting a better score in the parser will increase. Then eventually, somewhere down the line, it will go through a human. So if your resume is very badly created, formatting errors, mistakes are there. Because at the end of the day, and I'll be very honest, Arjun, here, uh, in our country, assuming that one person will be very smart and very will be exceptionally above anyone else is very difficult to say. So when I am getting 30-40 resumes, me rejecting someone because I feel the resume is not properly made becomes an easy choice, because I don't think I'm losing a very strong candidate by that. My
mm,
thought process would be that this person can't even make a good resume. Why to take
mm.
it forward to the next round? Even
Right.
if there is a small probability that this is the best candidate, only he doesn't know how to make a resume. So we need to maintain the basic hygiene, and then keyword matching, portraying ourselves in the
Customization.
best, because right now, since AI is there, and you can just upload your resume to the chat GPT, ask, give very simple prompts, give me my strength, give me my, like, one very simple exercise anyone can do is upload the resume to chat GPT, upload the JD to the chat GPT, ask the chat GPT that analyze my resume with context of this JD, tell me the strengths, tell me the areas of improvement, tell me where I can change. I think it will give you enough result. So you just need to customize your resume, and the probability to get passed better will increase a lot.
Mm. At the same time, I feel like, Mayank, we have seen a lot of folks doing that already. Like putting their resume in Chat GPT, and asking it to customize. And a lot of times, because everybody is using GPT, it's starting to look the same as well for many people, right? So I think ultimately you can use GPT for initial level of feedback, but you can't completely
Yeah,
outsource your improvement, resume improvement to GPT. You'll have to somewhere talk about the projects that you have worked on. GPT will
and
not know, and you'll need
obviously,
to. Yeah.
to be very honest, you have to modify the line GPT will give you, because it will give you a very dead
Correct.
line. So
Yes.
eventually you have to put some human into the line GPT will give you, because at the end of
Yeah,
the
if you
day,
want to
not
get
only you.
differentiated in the market, you have to do that.
Exactly. You have to showcase you as a person there, not chat GPT representing you as a person. So that's always
Absolutely.
there.
Absolutely. Just on this topic of bottlenecks, identifying what's not working for you if you are applying to jobs, what are some of the other factors outside of resume? So resume is considered the number one factor in our view, where people are unsure that if the ATS is penalizing them, or human recruiters are not liking their resume. But we have covered that part. What else is there? Because frequently we have found that resumes are not the issue anymore, because people are using GPT, they are getting it reviewed, they have also previously applied to jobs, so they know how resumes work, especially at mid career level rather than at a junior level. So what are some of the other factors because of which you think people are not getting a lot of callbacks in the market outside of resume?
So I think we have already discussed that the quantum of jobs itself has reduced a lot. One other
Hmm.
thing that we have not discussed is it is the system's obligation that you have to put a job outside. It will be on some sort of job board on LinkedIn, on Naukri.
Hmm.
Many times those resumes that are sourced from there are not even used. So many companies run this referral programs. At the same time, again, I can share that because I'm not part of corporate anymore. In many cases, when it comes to mid jobs, sometimes you get resumes directly from your senior management. Okay, so if your CEO, if your CTO, if your VP is sending you a resume, the HR becomes obligated to at least do first round of interview, because I have to reply to the CEO what happened to that resume. So in many cases, we see that you get a lot of referral from your management, and then uh, even before we have started screening and doing that, the position is closed. So that
Hmm.
indirect way of coming, whatever you call it fair or unfair. So there is a fair way of doing that when employees refer and employees get referral bonus, and the system you vouch that I know this person. So this is a fair way. The unfair way is when you get pressurized to at least interview someone, and also it's sort of an indirect obligation that to anyone, even to it. So just consider the scenario. I'm hiring for, let us say, a manager position. Okay,
Yeah.
the hiring panel constitute of senior manager and a director.
Hmm.
Okay, a resume has come from the CEO himself. So even those who are interviewing, they will be under some sort of pressure. CEO से resume आया है तो अब हम क्या करेंगे, है ना? So these things happen all the time, and
Hmm.
when the kitty of jobs are less, you will see such instances more and more, and that is where the age-old advice that you should have a strong network in your personal capacity. Be it anyway, it could be even a strong LinkedIn presence. It could be you knowing your seniors, you be in good touch with them. So if someone can put a good word of mouth, that word of mouth has much more weight than a very good resume or very good profile. So eventually, a referral works a lot. That is the reality I feel, and that also saves the cost for this. So just 3 4 years back, a lot of hiring used to done from vendors. That means there are specialized agencies who used to hire people. uh, the companies used to pay a certain cut to these vendors, 10% of the CTC, 12% of the CTC. So when the layoffs started and when the overall rationalizing started, the leaders and the CFOs and the CEOs felt that recruitment ke liye, why do we need to pay vendors also? So
Hmm.
that is when they decided it, every hiring, like 80 to 90% of the hiring should be in-house. And how do you do in-house hiring? When you make your recruiter reach out to the leaders within the organization that you provide us the CV. So we don't need
Hmm.
to go to vendors. We don't need to take multiple Naukri or multiple LinkedIn or any other job board licenses. It cuts the overall cost of the company, and everyone is happy. So that is again a reason. As I said, we can debate fair or unfair, but that is the reality of why people are not getting communication back from recruiter despite having everything perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I think very incisive points there. I hope people who have joined us are noting this down, because I think they can directly. Some of the areas are under your control. You can do something about it. A lot of the resume things that you have shared are things that people can do about. The others you may not be able to do a lot about. For example, if there are fewer jobs in the market, or people are being hired internally as opposed to externally. But it's good to be aware of these reasons, so that you don't lose hope, you don't kind of get very demotivated if you're not hearing back, and continue to navigate the market in a more strategic manner. um, let's talk about the AI part now again a little bit, Mayank. I think you know the world is primarily just focused on AI right now across the board, whether it's the funding that's happening in startups, whether it's the hiring that happening across the board, even for like example, a lot of marketing roles today and HR roles today, they talk about having experience with AI native tools in the JD, right? So AI is definitely, whether for better or worse, it is one of the key themes across the corporate landscape today. Now, how have you seen candidates use AI to their advantage? I mean, we talked about GPT being used for resume customization, but when it comes to actual work that people are doing in their day to day, like you have done in HR, you might have helped other functional employees, like I don't know whether you worked with operational employees or engineering or marketing. How are organizations prioritizing talent which has better knowledge of AI? Have you seen that trend firstly, and if so, how are they prioritizing it?
Definitely. So in fact, I just did hiring for one of my client 2 months back, and I was given so we were hiring full stack developers, but I was also given explicit mandate that we are comfortable with candidates who are doing only vibe coding. So vibe coding is people who may not know hard coding very well, but they are good with prompts and other stuff, and they can prepare applications. At the same time, people who have some sort of experience with AI. So were given preference than people who have not yet done work with AI. So
Hmm.
eventually, you see the trend when it comes to tech. I remember when I was a software engineer, we used Stack Overflow a lot.
Hmm.
Now it has turned to ChatGPT. We are using that for prompt and all that. When
Hmm.
I was into my last role and I was doing TA strategy, I made all my I was doing a TA competency project, and I there were a lot of issues with the JD the recruiters were creating. So in fact, I was the very first who asked them to use ChatGPT to create JDs. So so it is there. It has become an integral part because at the end of the day, most jobs will revolve what it will involve either coding if you are into tech side, or creating some sort of information either on Word, Office, or Excel. Word,
Hmm.
Excel, and PowerPoint. So eventually, something that you were earlier doing manually, let us say you're typing something on Word, or you were preparing some PowerPoint presentation using tables and infographics from scratch just to represent to other person. It has been automated. So AI is something you can't ignore. You have to be like I use ChatGPT a lot because I have to prepare a lot of content for my. I have to create policies for my clients. I have to do hiring, so I'm using ChatGPT to analyze the various profiles, resumes, different things. So those who
Hmm.
are using AI, those who have made AI their friends, they will definitely have some edge because at the end of the day, you can definitely cut a lot of manual work. At a company level, will it translate to an increased productivity? I think this is debatable. A lot of people are saying the results are not as good as they were expecting. Some are saying that it is as good as it is expecting. So I think it is something we will know only after 3 4 years whether uh, AI can completely replace a department or we will still need humans. So we go through these phases again and again. You see, there was an industrial revolution. There was a internet revolution. A lot of people who were doing manual work were replaced by computers, but new jobs came. Now I think same thing is happening with AI. A lot of people who are equipped already with AI, they will have certain age, not only in terms of their jobs but in terms of self-employment, also in terms of running their own business or being an entrepreneur also. But will the impact be that much that what some people are uh, doing prophecies of a doomsday that no human will ever be employed and there will be robots who will replace. I think that is something we're yet to see. So I don't think it's too early to comment on that.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. No, fair enough. And just in terms of last thing that I want to cover, in this session is more in terms of, let's say, once you have made some progress in your job search, you are starting to get some interviews. What are the things to keep in mind to perform well in interviews specifically? Because I mean, I'll be honest. Earlier, once you started getting interviews, typically you would see a decent conversion rate, maybe like a
True,
25% conversion rate, maybe even
true,
30% conversion rate. So you'd convert one out of three or four or five opportunities into an offer typically. Today, that has actually reduced for many candidates, even the high performing, highly qualified candidates. It's gone from that 1 in 3, 1 in 4 to more like 1 in 7, 1 in 8 kind of a thing. So you need more interviews also to actually get the final offer. People are making it to the final rounds, but not always getting the offer because there are so many candidates in the job market, like you said.
True.
So what can people do better to convert interviews into offers today?
Sure. So I have seen very basic mistakes people make even at a very senior level. First
Hmm.
thing being not knowing much about either the company or the role. So many people treat interviews like transaction. I will apply in 100 companies. I will get call in 5 or 6 companies. I will sit and I will give very generic response. And whenever I ask someone why a company, they will give me an
Hmm.
answer. And the very next question I ask them that, you could have replaced A with B and the answer will remain the same. So that
Hmm.
shows the lack of depth in the answer, that why do you want to join someone. In fact, I just hired an intern, and many people couldn't even answer, why do you want to work with me, why do you want to work with Harmony Partners. And I think your experience would be something similar when you are hiring for Pivot. Many people don't know why they want to work with Pivot. They just know that I want a job, Pivot is offering me a job, I'll sit in the interview. So that
Hmm.
basic research of why Pivot, why Harmony Partners, why XYZ, and where do I fit in, people are not able to give that proper connection. So I think beyond a point, technical skills are tested thoroughly, and where a lack of conversion happens is on the behavioral front or on the cultural fit round, where people are not able to justify their candidature. They just, every candidate feels the same. Their answers are pretty generic. Even very basic questions, when you ask people, when you ask them to substantiate, when you ask them what challenges they faced in life, what are their strengths, failures. So I think
Hmm.
people need to do a lot of self reflection, that how they can substantiate, I'm the best fit for this company. And that will happen only when you will research a lot about the company, what the
Hmm.
company is going into. Have you ever checked their social media pages, what they are talking about? Have you gone through the news lately? What are their financials looking like? Who are the key persons? What are the major projects? A lot of information is available in the public. So you can, even just by portraying that you are much more researched about the company and about the role, and you have done a lot of self reflection, why you are the best fit person for that role, that alone will differentiate you a lot from many candidates.
Hmm. What's the best kind of research typically? Like, so, you talked about social media, let's say website, annual report. Is there a specific recommendation you have that sort of, I mean, it won't be a rigid structure, but something that really gets people started on the right note when it comes to doing the
So,
right research for
what
this?
I suggest to people is always go through the website first, because the major highlights are there. If it's a listed company, you will also see their filings in the public and all that. Many companies have values, many companies have mission, many companies have vision. And if you see some of the interviews, like Amazon has 16 competencies, and their interviews are broken into four competencies. An interview will come and will test four competencies. So
Hmm.
many companies are taking interviews purely on their values. So if the value is accountability, if the value is ownership, if the value
Hmm.
is detail orientation. So you'll see a lot of questions being asked specifically to assess that value. So going through the company, learning about their history, mission, vision, values definitely help. Knowing who the key people are in that company, who's the CEO, who's the founder, where the headquarter is, knowing about the operation. So like when I was with Tata 1mg, I used to ask this question: what are the major revenue channels of Tata 1mg? And most people have no idea. They used to say how they do pharmacy, they do online medicine, whereas we had 6 revenue cycles, channels, and everything was on websites. So website will give you a lot of information. Then social media pages will give you what is happening recently. Is the company piloting any project? Is there a change in the strategy? Is there a tie up, anything? So a recent update, like I always tell people, that whenever an interviewer says, is there any question for me, that is the
Hmm.
chance for you to show your research. Ask about the company, ask about their growth prospect, ask about their future strategy. Don't ask random questions, because that alone will give interviewer an impression that this person has done a lot of research. So I think
Hmm.
a 30 to 45-minute research on any company will give you a lot of information. You can mold your answers accordingly. You can formulate your answers in a way that you will show that my competency, my experience, my way of working is aligned with what you are trying to do. or what you want
Yeah.
to be in the future.
Yeah. All right. I think we have covered that extensively as well. Mayank, do we have time for one final question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Please, please, please.
Perfect. So we have talked a lot about specific strategies in and specific uh, solutions that work when you're navigating difficult job market like today's. And I hope people have been noting this down, and taking a lot of cues from your answers, because I think they're tremendously insightful and will actually be practically helpful. But one of the things which we haven't talked about, and I know you frequently write about this, and I wonder if you have covered this in your book as well, love to know, is the whole mindset that you need to have during difficult phases in your job search, or non-linear phases, even if they are not necessarily difficult, but for example, taking a voluntary gap in your career, starting a firm on your own, writing a book. These are things that not every common professional does, right? And at the same time, the job market is very uncommon today. So more and more people who don't want to do uncommon things are being forced into doing uncommon things, like for example, building their brand on LinkedIn so they can get more visibility. So what are some of the things that people can do to train their mindset to be more adaptable in difficult situations when they are not really looking for any difficulty in their career, in their lives? Would love to know that.
Sure, great, and that's an excellent question. And so you know my philosophy on that, and I've been quite trolled on LinkedIn sometimes when I write about it. I feel we are a fundamentally risk-averse country, and all of us, if especially if you are from a middle or lower middle kind of a background, you are told that job is the end goal of life. You know, you study so that you can get a job, and once you get a job, you stick to it. And I feel a lot of people realize it much later that they are not enjoying what they are doing. Okay, so it leads to a lot of chaos in their life. They are hesitant to switch careers. Like you are helping a lot of professionals from switch to one part of career to other part, and there are obviously certain risks that you have to take, maybe in terms of the designation, in terms of the hierarchy, or in terms of the money. You have to take certain hits. There are people who absolutely hate their job. They are not made for corporate, and still they feel that they should be part of it because financial stability is what matters the most. So, in fact, I have covered this extensively in my book, though it's a fiction, but I have derived a lot of real life experiences I have poured into it. That everyone needs to decide what they want to do, whether uh, financial stability is what is the most important thing because of circumstances, then you need to go for it. Whether entrepreneurship is your calling, whether you have been burnt out and exhausted so much that taking a break of 3 months, completely redefining your life, moving from one. And I know someone who worked with me, and that person was into sales, and then she wanted to move to digital marketing, which she eventually did and was happy. So, uh, people need to think about the long term picture, and that is where that mindset thing is important, that it's okay to have certain uh, shortfalls in life. It's okay to take a
Mhm.
financial hit. It's okay to take a hit on your income. You have to plan for it. Obviously, you can't take random choices. But having a strong mindset, having the capability to self reflect will allow you to think whether I want to continue in the corporate, and then how. What kind of roles I need to look for, what kind of companies, what kind of bosses I want to work with. And then you plan it accordingly. What we do generally is, and what our approach so far is, that my city is 10 lakh. I want a job for 14 lakhs. So whoever is paying me 14 lakh, I will apply, then I will go. And that's the reason a lot of people are not satisfied with their job. Their income keep on increasing, but they remain
Mhm.
very unsatisfied. And one more point that I covered earlier, that as soon as something bad happens, we take a huge hit on our self-esteem. Our self-confidence
Yeah.
is dropped a lot. So whenever we are doing the job search, especially in an event when we have been laid off or we are threatened to lay off, we feel that there is something wrong in us. So I feel that capability to self-reflect, having that strong mindset that it was not my fault, and whatever is happening with me right now is temporary. I will go through, I will reach a better place once again. It could be another job, it could be higher studies, it could be starting your own venture, or it could be just relaxing for 6 months. But you need to internally accept that. You need to, have that kind of strong mindset that I will get through this situation, and whatever will happen will happen. I'll manage somehow.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's a terrific point to kind of wrap this your session on. I just want to add one point. Even if, let's say, there are times when you can change something about yourself, or you might have, let's say, been laid off because of underperformance or something else. I think people, rather than losing their self esteem, which you rightly said, ma'am, I think they should internalize that also, because sometimes there could be factors related to them that they can change. But the more important thing is to
Definitely.
have the growth mindset, right? Where you don't make yourself a blocker, a roadblock for yourself, but you see yourself as a resource, as a asset, and say that, okay, I will be able to overcome this difficulty if I can. Um, so yeah, I mean, we are not static beings. We are always constantly evolving, and I think a lot of people sometimes feel demoralized and think that they can't grow, they can't learn AI because it's very technical or those kind of things. I think you can. You just need to start believing in yourself and use a lot of the insights that Mayank has shared in our session today. Um, so thank you again, Mayank, for being here, for sharing all your insights, talking about your journey and the book that you have recently published. Really appreciate all of that. And for people who joined us today on Thursday evening in the festive season, thank you for your time. I hope you got something valuable. If you are, in the job market, either testing the waters or just in the trenches, either way, and you might be feeling, let's say, confused about what steps to take, or maybe you have applied to jobs, not hearing back from companies, or sometimes hearing back but not converting interviews into offers. All of these different scenarios are what Pivot helps with. We have a lot of good industry experts and folks like Mayank who are able to guide you along the way. So please check Pivot out, as well as please follow Mayank on LinkedIn. He shares a lot of great insights, both with regard to job search, but outside of that, just how to navigate the corporate landscape. I personally enjoy a lot of the content that you put out, Mayank. Have been following you for a long, long time now. So I would strongly advise that people follow Mayank and his work on LinkedIn as well. With that said, yeah, we'll bring this to a close, and thank you again, everybody, for joining.
Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone. Good night.
Good night.